If you've spent any time in gardening circles, you've heard it. Yellow leaves, Epsom salts, poor flowering, Epsom salts, slow growth, you guessed it, Epsom salts. Somewhere along the way, this simple magnesium sulfate became the miracle cure for almost every plant problem. But here's the uncomfortable truth most gardeners never hear. Epsom salts are rarely the real solution. In fact, overusing them often makes things worse. Welcome back to Soil Stories, where we don't chase shortcuts, we dig into the soil itself. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the real mineral deficiencies silently sabotaging your garden. These are the hidden imbalances that stunt growth, weaken roots, invite pests, and drain flavor from your harvest. Fix these, and your garden changes fast. No gimmicks required. Epsom salts contain magnesium and sulfur, both essential plant nutrients. The problem isn't that magnesium is useless. The problem is that magnesium deficiency is far less common than social media makes it seem. Most soils already contain enough magnesium, especially if you garden in clay or have used compost over time. When gardeners apply Epsom salts blindly, magnesium can overwhelm calcium and potassium uptake. That imbalance shows up as weak stems, poor fruit set, and plants that look off no matter how much you feed them. The plant isn't starving, it's confused. Healthy soil is really about balance, not just overdosing on one nutrient because, well, it's trendy. Nitrogen gets blamed for everything. Too much nitrogen, too little nitrogen, leafy growth with no fruit, it's always nitrogen's fault, right? But honestly, in most struggling gardens the issue isn't really a lack of nitrogen, it's actually nitrogen that can't be accessed. Plants rely on soil biology to convert nitrogen into usable forms. If your soil lacks active microbes, organic matter, or, proper moisture, nitrogen just stays locked away. You can fertilize all you want, but the plant can't eat what the soil can't serve. This is why gardens with rich compost often outperform heavily fertilized beds. The nitrogen cycle is alive there. Fix the soil life, and nitrogen problems quietly disappear. Phosphorus deficiency is one of the most misunderstood issues in home gardens. It doesn't always show dramatic leaf color changes. Instead, plants grow slowly, roots stay shallow, and flowering is delayed or reduced. Here's the twist. Many soils contain plenty of phosphorus, but it's chemically bound and unavailable. Cold soil, compacted soil, or soil with extreme pH locks phosphorus away. Adding more phosphorus doesn't solve the problem, it piles up unused. Loosening soil, improving drainage, and adding organic matter often releases existing phosphorus naturally. Healthy roots, well, they unlock nutrients better than any bagged fertilizer ever could. Potassium doesn't get the hype it deserves, yet it controls water movement, disease resistance, and fruit quality. When potassium is deficient, plants wilt easily, the edges of leaves scorch, and fruits, well, they lack flavor and shelf life. Sandy soils lose potassium quickly through leaching, while compacted soils limit root access. Wood ash, composted plant matter, and diverse organic inputs help stabilize potassium levels without shocking the soil system. This is where a lot of gardeners end up misdiagnosing issues as pests or disease, when really the plant just doesn't have enough mineral strength to defend itself. Calcium usually gets attention when blossom end rot pops up on tomatoes, but honestly, calcium deficiency affects every plant, every single season. It builds cell walls, helps support root growth, and lets nutrients move around inside the plant. The tricky thing is, calcium just doesn't move easily inside plants. Inconsistent watering, compacted soil, or poor root development can block calcium uptake, even if your soil has plenty of it. This is why adding calcium without fixing watering habits often fails. Deep, consistent moisture and loose soil structure do more for calcium availability than crushed eggshells ever will. Iron, manganese, boron, zinc, copper. These micronutrients work behind the scenes, driving enzymes, chlorophyll production, and flowering hormones. Deficiencies show up as pale leaves, twisted growth, poor pollination, and low yields. What's fascinating is that micronutrient problems are usually soil pH problems. When soil drifts too acidic or too alkaline, trace minerals become chemically unavailable. The nutrients are present, but plants can't absorb them. So, instead of chasing individual deficiencies, stabilizing soil pH and feeding soil life really creates a self-correcting system. Healthy soils, they recycle trace minerals continuously. Here's the truth many gardeners don't want to hear. Most mineral deficiencies are not caused by missing minerals, they're actually caused by poor soil structure. Compacted soil suffocates roots. Waterlogged soil, well, it just rots them. Sterile soil lacks the biology to unlock nutrients. Once structure collapses, everything else follows. Organic matter is the master key. Compost, leaf mold, aged manure, mulches. These rebuild pore space, improve water retention, and feed microbial communities that shuttle minerals directly to roots. This is slow magic, but honestly, it's permanent. Plants evolved to partner with soil life, not fertilizer schedules. Fungi actually trade phosphorus for sugars, and bacteria work to convert minerals into plant-ready forms. Plus, worms aerate the soil and distribute nutrients evenly throughout. When we bypass this system with quick fixes, we end up weakening the entire ecosystem, but when we support it, deficiencies tend to resolve themselves naturally over time. This is exactly why gardens built on compost, cover crops, and minimal disturbance just outperform high-input systems year after year. At Soil Stories, we believe every garden tells the truth if you know how to listen. Yellowing between veins speaks differently than yellowing from the bottom up. Weak stems whisper about potassium, poor flowering hints at phosphorus or boron imbalance. Instead of reacting with random amendments, pause, observe patterns, look at soil moisture, texture, and root health. Most answers live below the surface. Gardening becomes easier when you stop fighting symptoms and start understanding causes. Forget miracle salts. Forget one-size-fits-all advice. The real solution is boring, but powerful. Build organic matter, maintain consistent watering, protect soil from compaction, encourage life underground. When minerals move freely through living soil, plants grow with confidence, leaves deepen in color, roots dive deeper, pests lose interest, harvests taste better. This is how resilient gardens are made, not in weeks, but for years. If this deep dive helped you see your soil differently, you're already thinking like a soil storyteller. Subscribe to Soil Stories for more honest, practical gardening wisdom that actually works. Share this episode with a fellow gardener who's still chasing quick fixes, and let's grow healthier soil together, one story at a time.